And I'm Megha Sharma. Let's take a look at this breaking development. BJP leader Smriti Irani has now thanked the party leadership after being appointed as the National General Secretary, calling the responsibility as extraordinary opportunity. Smriti Irani said that the BJP decision to elevate an ordinary worker to such a significant position reflects the party's worker-centric system. She expressed gratitude to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the BJP National President Nitin Nabin for their guidance, support and trust. Smriti Irani said that the newly formed BJP team is committed to the party's nation-first vision and will work towards realizing the resolve of Viksit Bharat. She also thanked the party's senior leadership and elders for placing their trust in her and pledged to serve the organization with loyalty and dedication. मनोहर केसरी on the telecast. मनोहर, स्मृति ईरानी को फिर से इंडक्ट किया है, उनको ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दी गई है नेशनल जनरल सेक्रेटरी की. उनको उत्तर प्रदेश इलेक्शंस जो 2027 में हो रहे हैं उसके मद्देनजर रख के उनको ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दी है. आगे चल के क्या रोल निभा सकती हैं स्मृति ईरानी?
देखिए आप देखेंगे अपकमिंग विधानसभा चुनाव में पार्टी के महामंत्री के रूप में जो है तो स्मृति ईरानी को एक बड़ा जिम्मा दिया गया है और इस नाते में जो स्मृति ईरानी पार्टी के आह्वान सम्मान से धन्यवाद करते हुए कहा है कि लोग जो है तो पार्टी इसके लिए निष्ठा और समर्थन के साथ से काम ही करेंगे, बल्कि विशेष भारत की पर्यटन को जो है तो पूरा करने के लिए वो प्रतिबद्ध रहेंगे और हर जो एक कार्यकर्ता सामान्य कार्यकर्ता के लिए जो काम होता है वो करेंगे. साथ ही उन्होंने याद भी किया कि जिस तरह से पार्टी ने उनको साधारण कार्यकर्ता से इस पद पर दिखाया और ये पार्टी जो है तो कार्यकर्ता आधारित पार्टी है, तो ऐसे में वो सारी जिम्मेवारियों को निभाने की पार्टियों से पहले भी दे चुकी है. तो ऐसे में इस बार की जिम्मेवारी काफी अहम हो जाती है और उन्होंने प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी को धन्यवाद देते हुए कही है कि जो भी आदेश होगा, जिस तरह से पार्टी के वरिष्ठ जनों द्वारा जो उनका विश्वास दिखाया गया है, उनके लिए उन्होंने आभार व्यक्त किया है. जी
मनोहर, हमारे से जुड़ने के लिए बहुत शुक्रिया. Thanks for giving us those updates. Shifting our focus to the big story of the hour. After the Phuket flight fiasco, the drug test question is getting bigger. The two more Air India group pilots have now returned non-negative in their initial drug tests, with their final confirmatory results still awaited. The testing drive was ordered after the 4th August Delhi-Phuket flight incident, in which the captain of Air India flight AI2379 tested positive for marijuana after the aircraft suddenly lost altitude. So far, psychoactive substance tests have been conducted on around 400 pilots out of a combined Air India and Air India Express pilot strength of about 5,000. The Delhi-Phuket incident left 24 people injured, and now if the two latest non-negative results are confirmed, the questions get far more serious. How widespread is the problem? How did these pilots clear previous safety checks, and was Air India's internal drug screening system strong enough? Let's open up our conversation. I'm being joined by Captain C.S. Ramdhava. He is the President Federation of Indian Pilots. Thank you very much for speaking to us. And my first question about what is the action that is going to be taken by the Air India authorities as well as the DGCA against this pilot of the Phuket Delhi flight, where he has now been tested for the second time, confirmatory tests resulting in him having tested positive for marijuana.
Good evening, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. First and foremost thing I would like to say, as per the CR section 5 series F part 5, which deals with psychoactive substances, the DGCA will have to take action as per that, and he is already grounded, and he will be sent to a rehab center where until unless he is declared fit, only on his fitness from the rehab center, he will come back to the company doctor, and then he has to undergo the medical by Air India, by Air Force authorities. And thereafter, his fitness, once he's declared fit, he'll be, the DGCA will clear him. That is the rule position. And for the second time, if he's caught, then it takes about 3 years for the suspension of the license. Third time, there is the cancellation of the license.
Right.
Now, this is the action which is given as per the CR, which the DGCA is bound to take. Over and above this, the government of India can take any action which they feel like. Over and above this, in case they find that criminal proceedings have to be, that is up to the government of India. But as per, if you go by the CR, this is what the CR says.
Also, Captain Ramdawa, there are 2 more pilots who've been given this non-negative result during the initial drug test screening. They at this point of time have been suspended, removed from the roster. There is going to be a second test, confirmatory tests that are going to take place, and the results are pending. Why do you think Air India is facing such a problem of more and more of its pilots testing positive for psychoactive substances?
You see, there are 2 things now. It is from the urine samples, when the first test is done, the confirmatory test will be done through the hair follicle. Now, if he is tested positive in the first test, then it could be due to some medicines also. But when the second test positive, then it is very sure that the person could have been taking drugs, which are 6 specified drugs as per the CR, which are barbiturates, cocaine, marijuana. So all these 6 drugs, when you're tested positive, now this is becoming a serious issue, because out of 300 they have tested, 2 have tested positive. Now it is to be seen that if they test positive in the second test, then it becomes a serious issue. Because in 300, if you're taking 2, it is almost coming to a figure of 1%.
Right.
So what
right. Fair enough. But at this point of time, do you think it would have been conducive for the airline to have waited for the second test results to be out before putting out this information in public domain?
See, the problem is, I will tell you that if you go by the CR, the airlines are supposed to test 10% of the pilots in a year. That is the CR made, right? They do not test them 100% before every flight. And by the way, any test, whether it is a urine test or the hair follicle test, it takes 24 to 48 hours to get the result. So even if it is done before the flight and the person has tested positive, he could have gone for the flight. Now, since Air India has declared that they will do 100% check on the pilots, this is coming up. It could be in the other airlines also. If the 100% check is done, I am sure that more pilots would test positive.
Sanjay Lazar is also on the telecast with me. He's an aviation expert. Sanjay, let's hear it from you with regards to this alarming number of pilots testing positive in the preliminary reports that have been released. Again, my question was to Captain Randhama. I'm going to ask you the same. Is this too soon, or rather rash, for the airline to release the preliminary test results of the pilots? Or should it have waited for the second test, confirmatory test results to be out before making these declarations and announcements?
Good evening, Megha. Thank you for having me on your show, and good evening to you, fellow panelists and the guests of your TV. To my knowledge, I'm not really certain if Air India has released this information. Because, communicating with Air India, I understand that they are still talking of this as a non-negative, and they will only act on it when it goes for the second test and the confirmatory result is out. I think this is more of a media breaking news rather than the airline letting out it. But yes, you're right. Two pilots out of 300 is a large number. I do agree with Captain Randhawa. The more you test, you see the DGCA only says 10%. And the other airlines, the biggest airline is still not doing this. Air India has actually gone out on a limb to try and clear its name after the Phuket incident and said 100% testing for all pilots. Okay, I do believe the DGCA should also consider what it was talking about 4 years ago when it started this, which is pre-flight testing norms should be in place. They've also, let me also make this point that these are not the first 3 non-negative test results that Air India has ever had. Okay, I just want to make that clear. There have been previous cases of non-negatives in the past, which in confirmatory testing have proven not correct and therefore have been cast aside. So, for us to jump at this moment and say, okay, these 2 guys are definitely on cocaine or definitely
that's why my question is to is it judicious to actually come out and cast aspersions on these 2 individuals who have been tested positive or non-negative, as you call it, in the initial reports. Of course, the second level of reports, the confirmatory tests are going to happen and the results are going to be released very, very soon. But the larger question, Sanjay, over here, do you think the aviation industry and regulatory authorities in the aviation sector across the globe, whether it's India, America or Europe, need to scrutinize its regulations and rules further and bring about changes in rules?
Quick one, Megha. Concrete information, the media got it, the Air India did not release it. So let's make that very clear. Okay, number 2, should the regulations be changed? Now, Captain Randhawa has pointed out, Captain Augustine also is here. These are ICAO mandated SARPs. There are regulations in place. Other countries follow regulations. In India, our DGCA regulations are standard. Air India itself has a norm which is stricter than the DGCA norm. Okay, and let me tell you, Air India has a termination policy on confirmatory test. There is no 3-month rehabilitation, come back and check. That is the car. You can do that. But after that, they say goodbye and say, show you the door. Should the DGCA have stricter norms? Of course, I would believe so. Not only for pilots. Please let me make that clear. For cabin crew, for engineers, ATC, let's not make this only about pilots. This is across, operational aviation areas. You could have an engineer who's smacked out or a cabin crew and could be catastrophic. So let's be very clear on that. The number 2 thing is, what should it be? Is drugs easily available in most countries that they fly to? Yes. Overseas they are in a lot of countries. They are also banned and death sentences given in some countries. So people are careful there. But
there's just been a report that has been published in the Malaysian Airlines. There has been a pilot who has been caught not just trafficking drugs, but he himself was under the influence of cocaine. And of course, he has been asked to resign from his position. And of course, there are inquiries that are taking place, and investigation that is taking place again, legal investigations that are taking place against him. So this is not a one-off incident that has taken place in India. But my question over here is that Air India's image has been tarnished. The brand that you trust, the Tata brand that you can close your eyes and trust the Tatas. Do you think somewhere the flyers are going to second guess themselves when buying an Air India flight?
Well, I definitely think it has impacted the brand. You're right, Megha. It has impacted the brand. But the Tatas are a name of trust and a brand of trust. This step that they've taken is unprecedented. Let's understand what it means to test 5,000-6,000 pilots. It's not a joke. It's an expensive process. It means taking the pilot off duty. They will have some impact, but they've taken it. I've not heard of any other airline in India. Of course, they could very well say that, none of their pilots have ever been caught. But for one pilot being caught, they are now taking such an unprecedented step when the regulator should have been stepping out and saying, okay, all the airlines, let me just see, what you're doing. So I do believe that they will, they were bouncing back after 171. This has put a skid on it. But I'm sure they'll come around with the new CEO coming and things changing. Fingers crossed.
Okay. Group Captain Dr. M.J. Augustine Vinod also on the telecast with me. Let's hear it from you with regards to the kind of I think the norms when it comes to flying fighter jets for the Indian Air Force is going to be, a lot many more times stringent than a commercial pilot or a commercial airline, although I don't think it should be the case. But you could give me a clearer picture of how things stand?
Thank you, Megha. Apart from many hours on fighter jet, I also have more than close to 4,000-5,000 hours on Airbus A320. So that said, I have a question for you as well as for the viewers. People taking psychoactive drugs, the thing that you mentioned about Malaysia and here, but the same people are not drinking. Why? Drinking as in alcohol. Why? Because breath analyzer test is instantaneous, Megha. In India, though the car says random test for breath analyzer, in India we do 100% breath analyzer test, pre-flight for domestic and post-flight for international. Why post-flight for international? Because most international do not do mandatory pre-flight check. So they do not have procedure or infrastructure for mandatory pre-flight check. You just go to the aircraft and fly. And 20% breath analyzer test at random will be conducted. That is the rule they follow.
Yes.
But we follow even more stringent. So immediately you will be caught if you drink alcohol. So psychoactive drug, people are taking psychoactive drug test is what is coming out of this, check. The reason, Megha, is very simple. For cannabis, it takes 2 to 4 days for the result to come. For cocaine, almost 3 days. The worst is fentanyl. For you to derive whether there is fentanyl in your system, it takes from urine, which is the fastest, is 5 days,
Yes,
Megha.
yes. But Manu, my question over here is, yes, of course, we understand the challenges of conducting these tests where you will be able to instantly gauge whether an individual, whether a pilot or anybody or cabin crew or engineers are actually under the influence of a psychoactive drug. My question over here is, how can we detect, be 100% sure that a pilot, when taking flight, is not under the influence of any drug? It's an expensive procedure, but more than being an expensive procedure, like you said, it's a lengthy procedure. It will take you about 48 to 72 hours to even find out if a pilot is under the influence. Are there any other alternatives, any other solutions?
Yes, Megha, I would like to comment.
Yeah, please.
Today only I have written a letter to the Director General, including Minister of Civil Aviation, Secretary Civil Aviation, Principal Secretary and Government of India, and Prime Minister. I have given a full-fledged letter that how this testing is to be done, because in Australia this is quite prevalent. They do a swab test before the flight. Okay, it's much cheaper than the urine test, and the results are within 15 minutes you can get the results. So that is one way of testing the people, and
but if it is so effective, why aren't counterparts and regulatory authorities and airlines across the globe, whether it's in America or Europe or India, still lagging behind?
Yes.
No, swab test is not positive.
They have been lagging behind because our regulation, Megha, has been based on EASA and FAA. Okay, we have not imbibed what is being done in Australia. And the first time the drug testing actually started was in GCC countries. That is the first time they started, and simultaneously it was started by Australia. Okay, so but at present the swab test is being done by Australia and some more countries in Europe. Now this is one test which could be done pre-flight, because if you take a urine sample, no question that the person can go. When does the person go on flight? Because the result will take time.
Okay,
and,
all right.
And secondly, there is a need to revamp the whole system. They have to educate the pilots. Okay, they have to train them that they should not do self-medication and what medicines carry some drug elements. So those are not briefed and those are not spelled out in the CR. So there is a need to train the pilots. They have to undergo recurrent training as far as the medicinal drugs are concerned.
Okay, all right. I wish I had a doctor with me right now, but Group Captain Augustine, what do you make of this swab test, as has been mentioned by Captain Randhawa, which is being done selectively in certain countries, including Australia, and he said in GCC nations as well. How effective are they? Or do they have limitations?
Swab test will isolate that person for further test. Swab test is not positive. The swab test is immediately puts a question mark and he's taken off the roster. Now he goes for further confirmatory test.
But
So
I think
that
that's
is
good
one.
enough,
And
isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, even if he has consumed certain medicines which may then indicate that he may or may not be under the influence of psychoactive drugs, but at least you can just completely eliminate the chance 100% by not letting him fly the aircraft.
that is not enough, Mega, because the fear of the stick has to be there. There is a beautiful saying in Punjabi, चार किताबां उत्ते रखिया डंडा, चार किताबां कुछ न कितियां, सब कुछ कितियां डंडा. So the danda, fear of danda has to be there. Why in places where there is death penalty, this thing does not happen? So
I mean, the pilot who has been caught and for his confirmatory tests have come out positive. He has been tested and he has been found consuming marijuana. His career is completely, it's completely ended. There is nothing that he can look forward to when it comes to his professional career.
What happens if the aeroplane went down? So
no,
his
do you
career
think,
completion is enough.
No, I'm saying at this point of time, is that enough for a deterrent for pilots and airline staff to be responsible
it has to be
enough
a minimum of
consume drugs?
If it is 100% proved, it has to be a minimum of jail time. That is my personal feeling.
Okay, all right. Let me bring in Captain Keshri Singh as well. He's the former Chief Pilot Officer, Rajasthan government. Captain Singh, what do you make of this current situation? We're getting more information about, two preliminary tests that have been done. Preliminary tests have been done on nearly 400 pilots by Air India authorities. 2 have been found under this preliminary tests to be non-negative results. Of course, there's going to be a second round of testing that is going to be done, but is this alarming a figure that has now been brought to light?
Yes, it's certainly it's alarming, and I agree with Captain Randhawa, like whatever he suggested to government. But there is one more thing I want to add, which is like for every pilot, like we've been told from our Aviation training days that I think you'll have to, every pilot should check the pre-flight check, which was I am safe. I am safe means, I think the best way is to, like a pilot, he has to avoid taking medication without consulting doctor or any physician. So I think there is a requirement now. I think the time has come, like all pilots and associations and airlines, I think they must they must tell the pilot that they should declare that I am safe means I am safe. I'm just going to explain this. What is I am safe? It's a pre-flight fitness checklist. Each pilot must do. I for illness, that I am not suffering from any illness. I am for medication. I am not taking any medication which could my reflexes would go down if I have taken something like that. S for stress, A for alcohol, and F for fatigue. And lastly, E for any emotional or any eating disorders or whatever. So I think there is.
But there is no drugs here, sir.
I know that.
What these people are.
Yes, medication.
That is what these people are taking. Why they can get away with taking drugs?
Yes. That's why I'm saying that I agree with Captain Randhawa. I think they must DGCA people. I think they should the DGCA and airlines or maybe general aviation people. They must ensure that their pilots are not under the influence of such psychoactive.
Okay, all right,
medicine.
fair enough, sir. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining me on the telecast and sharing your views. On that note, let's take a look